Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss the suggestion that Boris Johnson's government is still pursuing the herd immunity strategy as its eventual endgame for dealing with the coronavirus outbreak. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, before I go through the evidence pointing towards a secret herd immunity strategy, which is not proved, just evidence, let's remind ourselves of what the government said when it was openly pushing for the idea. So the way the herd immunity was presented to the British public was based on a couple of concepts, both of which were either wrong or unproven. First of all, if we let the virus run rampant, people become infected, recover and gain immunity. Second, we would need about 60% of the population in order to achieve this herd immunity. But the problem with those two concepts is the first one is unproven and indeed highly doubtful, and the second is definitely wrong. We do not know that recovering from COVID-19 makes you immune. We don't even know if it makes the majority of people immune. We do know that not everyone becomes immune. There are documented cases of people recovering and then recontracting the virus in at least 3 Asian countries: China, South Korea and Japan. And as much as many people may doubt information coming from China, there's no reason to do this with Japan or especially South Korea. Frankly, South Korea need hide nor embellish anything, as their approach has absolutely been proven correct, and they're going to come out of this with a lot more credit than the vast majority of countries, in fact potentially any country in the world. As to the idea of 60% of the population needing to recover in order to gain this herd immunity, that is very, very iffy. Herd immunity generally requires in excess of 90% of the population for infections, and I haven't been able to find any mathematical model that suggests this much, much lower value for the coronavirus. Indeed, what I can tell you is that there was definitely no data upon which to base a mathematical model when they were saying this, and indeed still isn't, and there won't be until we actually have a nation that has achieved herd immunity, if it's even possible. And, you know, when the government were told of the hundreds of thousands that would die as a result of this strategy, that is when they thought again. Boris the Butcher didn't have quite the same affable ring to it as Boris the Bumbler. So they publicly disowned it. Too late to stop the infection running rampant, of course. As a result of even pursuing it initially, we will now be the worst affected country in Europe. However, the evidence still suggests that the government's endgame is herd immunity, and it's based upon the following considerations. So, first of all, documents have been revealed at the start of this week which show a schedule for a company used by the government to generate mathematical models for various scenarios. One of the scenarios was the herd immunity strategy, albeit with the elderly isolated. Now, it appears that the model was never actually created, but it was on the list. It was put on the list, and it was on the list after the government had publicly stated that herd immunity was not the policy and that they weren't going for it and never had been. Secondly, we are still not routinely testing people who develop symptoms. Now, in order to end the lockdown, which we all want to do as soon as possible, you have to ensure that people will not be able to spread the infection to others. Now, there are 2 ways to achieve this. There's the real way, and then there's the unicorn way. So the real way is to get the death rate right down, phase in the number of people who can leave their homes for necessary purposes, such I was talking yesterday with patrons, and one of them was saying in Spain, for example, they're allowing farm workers to go. That's going to be necessary. So you phase in the workers that can't do it from home but really have to get out there. You insist that people who do go out wear face masks, observe distancing where it is possible, disinfect surfaces, wash hands. In addition, you need to test everyone who develops symptoms as well as everyone they've been in contact with. Test and trace is the only thing that is proven to work. But then there's the unicorn way. You avoid testing, you implement a lockdown, but with fairly light measures, understanding perfectly well that large sections of the population will not follow the measures carefully. You let the population get infected, albeit more slowly, to ease pressure on the NHS, and you wait for that magical 60% to become infected, recover and achieve that herd immunity. At which point you let the old people out of their homes, Be free, brainy Boris will say. I was right all along. The magical herd immunity has worked. 3. The government are refusing to discuss the conditions for ending the lockdown. Now, it is perfectly right and proper that the government are not able to give a timetable for the lockdown, even a rough figure. If a journalist were to say, if I were a minister, a responsible minister, and a journalist would say to me, well, is it going to be weeks or months? I would say, do you know what? I do not know. But what I would also say is, but these are the criteria that need to be met for each of the phases of releasing the lockdown. You know, they can't explain the timetable, but they can explain their strategy. But they're not doing. Now that would suggest that they have a strategy, but that strategy would not receive widespread approval in the population, and certainly not amongst the scientific community. 4. The 2 people responsible for the herd immunity strategy are still in post. Dominic Cummings and Sir Patrick Vallance. Now don't be fooled by the fact that Sir Patrick Vallance has the title of Chief Scientific Advisor, as if his appointment is made by peers. It is not. It's a political appointment made because of his political views. That both men are still in post advising the government when their advice was to deliberately sacrifice hundreds of thousands of people in pursuit of this herd immunity, which may not even be possible, is telling. Had the government really abandoned the strategy, you'd have expected them to have abandoned the strategists. So the behaviour of the government does strongly suggest that they believe in the herd immunity concept still. We know that they're only slowly increasing testing and not carrying out testing in the community. We know that they have the capacity to do more testing because they've turned down offers from laboratories in the UK that can accommodate it. So anyway, that's the situation as I see it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.